Hello and welcome to the Collecting Hero podcast. I'm your host JD, the collector of collectors, and this is the show where I interview pop culture collectors from around the world. Today, I decided to shoot for the stars and land on the moon with my next guest. Her name is Aije. She's from America. She is a Sailor Moon collector. Aije, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, JD. I am so excited to dive right into I'll shoot for the stars too. Let's go.
I try to get like a clever sort of segue in at the start of the episodes, and I wasn't sure where to go with it, being Sailor Moon, because as I said to you before we started recording, this is something where I'm actually stepping outside of my comfort zone now. A lot of the guests that I've had on the show, I'm familiar with the source material. I've watched the movies. In some cases, I've read the comics, whatever it be. Whereas Sailor Moon, I'm not really aware of the character. I mean, I actually know who the character is. I've seen the character, but I've never really watched the TV show. Give me a quick rundown about Sailor Moon. Like, if you had to do the elevator pitch for someone of what is Sailor Moon and what makes Sailor Moon cool, how would you go about that?
Yeah, so Sailor Moon started in 1992. It was a hit. Essentially, they took a magical girl show geared towards women, but they added a little flavor of Power Rangers. And we know how popular Power Rangers was in the 90s.
Yeah.
So you had one character to identify with. Every personality came out. The show was an absolute hit worldwide. The fact that you don't know about it, but you're still interviewing me is like amazing.
Yeah.
It's also more popular in 2022 than I think it's ever been. Gen Z has really adopted the kind of 90s aesthetic, all these 90s things. So Sailor Moon is alive and well, but essentially she's a girl, talks to a cat, saves the world, falls in love. And I think the love part is what made it special for us kids in America. We didn't have romance on TV.
Yeah, and the cat, Luna, is that right?
That's right.
I did learn something before I came on here as well. Went and looked on Amazon. It was the only place where they actually had the full seasons and for whatever reason, the app would not load the season, and so I wasn't able to watch it. But I did do like a quick YouTube video of who is Sailor Moon, like describing it, mentioned about the cat. That she saves the cat at the very start of the show. That's literally the opening sequence. I think she saves the cat from being bashed by some other kids, essentially, or something along those lines. Is that correct?
Yeah, what's great about the character is she's extremely flawed, clumsy, not good at school, but she has a good heart.
Like me.
In that first episode, she sees an injured cat, says, "Hey, go away, kids," and pulls off a little Band-Aid that's covering this beautiful moon on her forehead. And that's how we ended up in this.
Nice. So Sailor, she is part of a group, like when you talk about the Power Rangers, because there's all these other different, is it Sailor Venus and all, like Jupiter and all the other different planets, correct?
Yeah, you've got every planet, including Pluto. I know people don't like to say Pluto's a planet, but the Sailor Moon fandom is very adamant it is a planet. Yeah, we got nine. Well, actually, it's interesting that you bring up what are they called. In Japanese, they're the Sailor Senshi. That's soldier in Japanese.
Yeah.
And in English, for a very long time, they were the Sailor Scouts. That was in the first dub. And then now, internationally, the author has requested to only refer to them as Sailor Guardians. It's tough. It's tough to change Sailor Senshi that you've been saying for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then I got to say Guardians now. No, I don't. Sailor Senshi, but essentially they're the scouts. They're the team. They're amazing. They're all powerful in different ways. I won't take up too much time with the specifics, but one of them's even psychic.
Well, perfect. I mean, like, we have superheroes with all sorts of powers, right? So, I mean, it's the same sort of thing. If you're going to give them powers, why not make one psychic, right?
Yeah, they're like the Avengers. One controls time. One can like restart the Earth. I mean, they get really outlandish, but even like in daily life, one of them's like straight up a psychic. It's like a whole thing. But it's like do you remember Captain Planet?
I do.
It's very much like Captain Planet. Yeah. There's the fire one, the water one. There's like a plant one. There's an earth one. I should have really said Sailor Moon is like Captain Planet and left it at that.
Well, I mean, showing my age, Captain Planet came out when I was a teenager. But I noticed on your video, your room tour video, because you have a great YouTube channel where you actually review all the different products that you have and statues in your collection as well. That you mentioned that you've been collecting since 1995. So tell me a little bit. What one of the questions I always usually start the podcast off is, how did you become a fan of Sailor Moon though, and how did you start collecting?
Yeah, so it's a two-part question because I was 7 years old. I was the target age group, the perfect age group. My mom came home from Toys R Us one day with a box. It was a box of shoes and it had this colorful artwork on it. Now I know Sailor Venus was on the side, Sailor Moon was on the top. And she came home and she said, the guy at the Toys R Us said this show is coming to the United States and it's taken over the world. It's taken over Japan. It's going to be huge. But I didn't see the show for maybe another year
Mhm.
when it came out in 95. So like the toys were coming out and then the show was coming out. And when I finally caught it, it was like 7 in the morning, some ungodly time on a Saturday morning. Um, and it was so like moody. There were watercolor backgrounds. There was like a boy and she was interested in him. But for me, the first thing I had was those shoes. And I still have the box. It's super beat up. The shoes I gave to Goodwill, like a normal kid, you give
I was
these
going to say
toys
they
away not
probably don't
knowing.
fit anymore. I'm sure.
No, they were they were like the size of my hand. I was 7, that's like a size 2. I'm not sure.
And so you had the shoes as your first item, and then you obviously loved the show. Did you start collecting a lot of items as a kid? Were you one of those kids that had to have every Sailor Moon item?
I did, but there were only 5. Uh, like, of anything made, there was a moonstick wand. That's the classic one where she has the crescent moon. You'll see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe about 4 others, including some toys that weren't even in the show. There was a moon cycle, and I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about that because it was like a non Sailor Moon was not popular when it came out. It went straight into syndication. They like reran 69 episodes like 10 times on 10 different networks. There were really only about 5 toys. I did have them, but there were only 5.
Oh, but you had them. That was the main thing. You had what was available. I do remember the wands only because I have younger sisters who are around just under your age, and I remember them actually having the wands within their own toys as well. I don't remember if they were huge Sailor Moon fans themselves, but they definitely had the wands. I remember seeing those, so I'm actually familiar. And when I saw your room tour and I saw the ones, I was like, I've seen those before. I know those. And it all sort of clicked. So
It
let's
was like
talk
a
about
core
your.
memory unlock.
Yeah, it was. It was. Let's talk about your collection though, because you had those original items, and now you've transitioned from them only having 5 items to 20 years later, where you have I want to say a million items, but quite a few I've seen in your room tour. And you said that it actually exploded in 2022. It's probably at its most popular it's ever been. So, how has that transition for you been as a collector with those items? When was it you really started to see all of the statues becoming available and you really started stocking up?
I love this question. This is this is a hot topic in my brain. So Sailor Moon, in terms of licensing in North America, most of the licenses expired in 2003. So that's DVDs,
Ah,
toys. They all expired. So even Walmart, which is huge,
yeah.
Walmart had Sailor Moon toys because it kind of went from this 1995 where no one was watching it. They reran it forever. And then it hit the Cartoon Network. And in 2000, they brought back not the last 2 seasons, but 2 seasons that were never shown. They brought them over to the United States. They ran a bunch of toys. They were in Walmart. And then from one day to the next, gone. Completely gone. You couldn't buy any of it.
Hmm.
That was 2003. And it took until I want to say 2013 for I don't know if you're familiar with the Bandai SH Figure Arts line.
I am. There's actually a series of Batman characters that they do in the Bandai.
Excellent. So there's these great articulated toys. The first toy that came out after 10 years for us was an SH Figure Arts of Sailor Moon. And the
Oh,
reason I'm
nice.
so I know I hate those toys. I hate them. But I bought like 3. I was like, this is the first Sailor Moon toy in a decade. You don't understand. And now I'm just sitting here with like 40 of them just going, ugh, I lost the hands, I lost the heads, forget it.
But being articulated, that would have been so much different to the standard toy from the 90s as well.
It really was, and it was so cool, and from 2013 to now, it's been almost nonstop. We have almost every line that Bandai creates. They've made these beautiful Sailor Moon toys, and even the fans are making unlicensed, bootleg, this is a dirty word, beautiful resin figures that I would have never seen in the 90s. Absolutely not. This year there was a Vans collab. I have the box right over there.
Nice.
Um, they came out with like 18 styles of shoes of just Sailor Moon. And it's really that Gen Z wave. Like I'm a millennial. I don't care about Gen Z, but I
Yeah.
love Gen Z because they made this popular again.
Yeah. Nice. I'm sort of on the cusp of Gen X and millennial as well, and I've seen a lot of this stuff evolve with pop culture. We were talking about this prior to recording, like how much the pop culture scene has grown, expanded, and it's like it's everywhere. And you've got all these streaming services with a million different TV shows. We were talking about that like earlier. All the different TV shows we're trying to catch up on at the moment, and yeah, it's great seeing all these items coming out. I mean, this is a huge anime. It is anime, right? I am right in saying that it is technically an anime show, right?
Yes.
And anime has I've seen how huge and popular that's just become over years. To the point where they've got anime festivals and everything in the US as well. Do you tend to go to those as well?
I used to. I love conventions more than anything else. When people ask me what is anime culture in America, because we didn't have a culture until maybe the last 5 years when it really blew up.
Mm.
One of the people pushing for it was actually Michael B. Jordan coming out and saying, "I love
Oh,
anime." I
nice.
know it's like all these things are all connected. It's like he was famous. He said, "I love anime," and I guess people started to invest. Ooh, I lost my train of thought there, but
Conventions.
anime culture in America is essentially con culture. It is really the only place we could have ever met prior to the internet, and even after the internet. You only see you see things at cons you would never see in real life. Just people doing the little cat dance and all these things. Everybody
Yeah.
knows what I'm talking about, but it's intrinsically connected in America. Con culture and anime culture is the only anime culture because otherwise we're sitting in our room looking at our computer completely separated from each other.
Mm,
I love conventions. I love cosplay. COVID really messed me up with that.
yeah.
Um,
Did
I
with a lot of
still
people.
haven't been to one.
Well,
Like I used to go like every month, and then nothing.
I've told this story on other podcasts, and I guess I'll probably complain about it again. But I was supposed to be at San Diego Comic Con in 2020, and unfortunately, due to COVID, that got cancelled. My trips got cancelled, and just due to timing this year, I wasn't able to go, even though my tickets had rolled over. So I wasn't able to attend, and that was supposed to be my first San Diego Comic Con because I love conventions as well. There's a convention that happens in Sydney and Tours Australia called Supernova, which is like a mini sort of Comic Con for the Australian version. And it's great. I love going there. I love seeing all the stands. I love seeing everyone in cosplay. And it's just this massive gathering of people sharing in fandom. One of the reasons I do this podcast is to try and share in the fandom with other collectors and other pop culture enthusiasts as well, because I really think this is something we should all just be promoting positivity and really coming together as much as we can. Going back to the show as well, you and I were talking about the fact that the show actually had an American pilot. That's just there's a new article that's just come out. 1994, they tried to make an American pilot, which apparently is not great. It's very badly put together, and obviously a good thing that it didn't go ahead.
Yeah, I'll give you the spark notes. Essentially, back to Power Rangers, always back to Power Rangers. They had two decisions to make in America. It was, do we make our own show and try to emulate Power Rangers, or do we just dub this Japanese thing and kind of hope kids are okay with anime, which is just a different art form in general.
Yeah,
So this pilot, it was leaked on the internet. It was on YouTube. It was like a video from the 90s. It was all shaky and blurry, but you always heard this earworm, which was the sailor, Sailor Moon. And you're just like, dear God, thank God this didn't come to America. But there was always that little piece of, but what if? And does the pilot exist? Was it just this little music video we saw? And we found out not what 3 days ago. It was super recent. It was in the Library of Congress.
Yeah, I read that in the article, Library of Congress. So they obviously, whenever they make these things, that information just gets sort of put into this vault whenever anything's created. I wonder what other shows and things have been sort of pieced together and Frankenstein that could
Apparently,
be in there.
apparently a lot. I heard on Twitter just today that there was apparently an English dub of an anime called Candy Candy. It was really popular in Mexico. I swear it never came to the United States. But lo and behold, today they're saying that, yeah, there's an English dub and it's also in the Library of Congress. Like, I feel like Nick Cage in National Treasure. Like, let's go steal the Declaration of Independence. Let's go steal the English dub of this girl's anime.
Oh, yeah, you know, you've just completely again, you've flashed my mind back to when I was a child, probably not much older than when you got into Sailor Moon. I don't know if it classes as an anime, but it was a similar style of animation. City of Gold, talking about Mexico or well, South America. There was and I'm sure it was called City of Gold. I may be wrong about that, but it was basically like the Aztec or Mayan style civilization, and these people are discovered. I remember watching that as a kid. I don't remember much about the show, but that just flashed back in my memory. But your eyes just lit up when I said that. I think you may know what I'm talking about.
What you're talking about has one of the most amazing theme songs. But I think it's also called City of Gold or something, but the theme song is an absolute banger.
Yeah,
And I'll find it on YouTube. You can link it in your video, I mean in your podcast because
I
it is a
will.
banger.
I will. I'll have to find that and definitely put it in there for people. But yeah, you just completely. That's oh, wow. I'm now sitting in nostalgia land. My brain's just sitting in that place.
You'll
I'm
love it.
remembering it as a kid, like actually having the candy. I am. I'm literally like I'm having this whole flashback memory. Wow. Another show actually talking about shows that have sort of been smashed together and overdubbed. There was another show that I watched as a kid called Robotech, which from I only just learnt in the last couple of years was actually an amalgamation of a couple different space and kaiju or what type shows I think it was like that they put together. So Robotech didn't actually happen in Japan. It was a purely westernized show. And you're nodding, so you
I
obviously
know a
know
little
exactly what
about
I'm
that.
talking about. Yeah.
I know a little about that. That was in Japan. In Japan, it was called Macross or like Super Macross, something like that. You might have heard of Macross Plus, which was like a CGI anime from like '93 or '94. What they did was essentially they did like Power Rangers when they took all these different ones and said, oh, they're the same show. It's like just a different season with a different team. And in America and Robotech, when people would die, they wouldn't die. They just go off camera and never come back. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you went to back home on the colony." Like, "Oh, okay."
Well, I'll know. Like, if anyone I know passes away, I'll tell people they went back home. They're back to the colony. That'll be the new
Yeah,
thing.
the space colony. They're a space colony.
Wow! No, all the memories are flashing back. And for all starting from a discussion about a show that I really don't know all that much about. But let's go back again. I'll circle back as we're sort of sidetracking, but I do love all the geeking out about all these different things. Your collection. So you've been collecting for years. You've obviously like expanded a lot in the last decade or so as well. I've actually went to Japan in 2019, and I went to a place called Nakano Broadway, which is in Tokyo. Is absolutely famous for the amount of toy stores and everything. Do you go to Japan? Like being such a fan of anime yourself, have you traveled to Japan much yourself, and do a lot of your pieces come from there as well?
Yeah, they do. I went to Japan one time, also in 2019.
Oh, nice.
It was the only time I got to go. Thank goodness. Nakano Broadway is incredible. You see things that you would never see anywhere else, and they're all like $10,000. But at least you saw it. There's extremely rare Sailor Moon things there. that you'll see them year over year. No one buys them. They are $10,000.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, Japan is incredible. They see a box, like a toy comes in a box, right?
Mhm.
If it has one scratch or one dent, if to them it's worthless. They're like, here, it's 500 yen, it's $5 because the box is awful. And you're looking at it like,
That's perfect for you who
okay.
has like things on display.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I don't care about the boxes. This all behind me is all for show. I take everything out of the box. I
No.
do keep the boxes,
Yeah,
but
same.
in Japan, it's you can save so much money. It's nuts.
And
But you paid thousands of dollars to be there, so
yeah,
it all balances out.
I actually have, I don't have it with me here off camera, otherwise I'd show it to you, but I do have a Batmobile that I bought when I was there because I was looking through, I'm like, oh, well, there's these toy stores. I actually found a kind of Broadway because of another video of, I was watching collection videos and they had one of the stores there, one of the vendors there actually had a whole heap of old Japanese Batman collectibles from like the 60s and 70s. And I was like, oh, I've got to find this guy's store. And unfortunately, I don't think his store was open when I was there. But I did manage to find another store that had some really cool pieces in it. And I ended up buying one of those, like the plastic kits that you can put together a Batmobile. And it was 2,000 yen. So not much, about
Wow.
$20. But it was from actual 1989, still wrapped, like still sealed, and that came home with me. That was my one little fantastic item for the collection that I got from Japan that I brought home with me.
That's so cool. And let me set the scene really quick for the people listening. Nakano Broadway, when you said that the guy's store was closed, these stores are tiny little stalls in
Uh-huh.
a dimly lit long hallway situation.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
they'll just close, they're not permanently closed.
No,
You just don't know when they're going to open. This place is bizarre. I love it. It's bizarre though.
it's about 3 or 4 levels too. It's huge.
Mhm.
Like I mean, like yeah, like you said, like these dimly lit hallways and everything like that. I found there was a store there that was it had a heap of like metal and rock albums and stuff as well. And I've got a friend of mine who's into the band Baby Metal, and so I bought him a CD of theirs so that he could have one of the actual proper Japanese versions of the CDs that I took home for him. But yeah, that you can if you love it and it's part of Japanese culture and anime and everything, you will find it in the stores there. There was also some very risque stuff as well. I guess that's kind of goes hand in hand
That's Japan.
with
That's
that.
like going to a do you remember going to a video store in the '90s looking for anime, and then you'd end up in the hentai section? You're like, "Oh, no, 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 no." It's just that's just how it is. They're holding hands, hentai and
Hentai,
anime,
that's
you
it.
can't
Yes,
escape.
yes.
Yeah.
With your collection as well, because you have all your statues, and I've referred a couple times now to your YouTube channel and the video of your room tour. You mentioned in the room tour that you were moving the collection as well. How's that going and proceeding at the moment?
Yeah, it's pretty tough. So it's a very poorly kept secret that my Sailor Moon room is at my parents' house. It's my room when I moved out. I got married, I left, but I was like, I kind of rent and I move around, so I don't want to move this. Is that cool? So I was pretty lucky and privileged to be an only child. So in this market, I finally bought a house, a permanent house that I can live in,
Congratulations.
and the move is a nightmare, I'll tell I'll tell you. I'm trying to, like, package things. Okay, I'll give you some tips that I've learned the difficult way.
This is
If
good.
you
This is
do
good.
keep yeah, if you do keep the boxes, just pack your figures in the original box. There's no point getting paper, just put in the original box. I know it sounds like a pain in the butt, but it is the best way to protect your toys.
Yeah.
And, I need to take my own advice because I drove with this in the passenger seat. It's my Sume. That's a $600 toy. That one I did not put back in the box, but
And for people
do as I
listening,
say.
it's the statue looks very fragile. It has a lot of pieces that look like they could easily be knocked off. But it made it in one go.
I drove very slowly like an old lady.
Perfect, perfect. Were you surprised when you were packing everything up about how much you had? Like, I mean, you obviously knew
I
when you
wish I
walked
could
into a
say
room.
yes. No, you know how I know how much I have? It's all the YouTube videos. Like YouTube is not my job. I have a day job, but I love sharing my collection and what I do, and like kind of like just informing people like how do you get these amazing toys? Cuz what happens is the Japanese are savages, okay? They'll be like, "Here's a toy, but we're only making 2,000 of it. We're just not telling anybody." That happened with like the Sailor Pluto SH
Oh,
figure art. It was like the figure art zero. It was like you had to pre-order it to get it, and they never made any more.
oh.
But they don't tell you that. So I
How
kind
do
of
people
like to
find
get the
out?
word out.
Oh, like you have
How
to
do
be
we?
in Japan to find out.
No, you find out when suddenly a $90 toy is $400 and you don't know why. That's the only way. So, because of that, I like to share this knowledge, but it's not my day job. So sometimes I'll be like, yes, I got a toy, and oh, I got a film. Okay, let's go. So I am painfully aware of how many toys I have. I don't want to get too negative. This is all positivity, but like, doing a podcast, doing YouTube, it's work.
Yeah,
And you really have to love what you do.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And how many videos do you have on your channel at the moment? Then, do you know?
I'll take a guess. I feel like it's 300. I'll find out if I'm right after
Okay.
this.
I mean that's quite a few, and you haven't reviewed everything like you said in your video. You've still got stuff to get to as well.
I'm a criminal. I posted my last video a month ago, but
Look,
moving.
like you said, I mean, look, life happens. Exactly. It's not your day job. YouTube is not your day job. It is a hobby that you do on the side. And this is like something that takes time, takes work. I mean, I record these podcasts, I go back and I edit them later, and then I have to, put them out and online as well. It all takes time, and it is dedication. That's one of the things, like with podcasts, they fail, and same things with YouTube channels. They fail usually within the first year because most people, they go, oh, this sounds like fun, we'll do this, and then they realize, oh, hang on, this actually takes a little bit of effort, this is not as fun as I thought it was going to be. But if you're really passionate about something, then it makes it a lot easier to do. And that's, I am passionate about collecting, I am passionate about talking to people about their collections as well.
Yeah, I tell everybody, I'm like, be an influencer. Just try. It's not that hard. Eventually, like if you build it, they will come.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so I don't know. I love it, but painfully aware of how many things I own.
On the positive side of that, how would you say your YouTube channel has helped your collection? Have you made a lot more connections with people around the world? Have you got any items through those connections that you may not have had previously?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the Sailor Moon fandom is incredibly tight. Almost everybody knows each other. As many millions of people there are, there's kind of a couple voices that are a little stronger than others. And I've had people reach out and say, "I'm moving. I don't really want this stuff. I know it'll be safe with you. Will you take it?" And I absolutely will. And people are very giving. Especially if they're like, I'd love to see it in a video, put it in the background. It's rewarding too, in a sense where you feel like you're all part of a community. Like the YouTube channel is not just me, it's people in the comments, it's like the
Yeah,
suggestions I receive.
yeah,
And the YouTube channel didn't just help me with that, like finding people who would perhaps sell me a very hard to find toy, like Sailor Hime, another Sailor Moon YouTuber. She sold me this incredibly rare Sailor Jupiter, and I would have never found her otherwise. It's also helped me in my career. Believe it or not, I was a social media manager, and the only way I got into that was by showing my YouTube video as part of my LinkedIn.
oh, cool.
Um, so, I mean, this is all extremely helpful. That's why I tell people be an influencer. It's a real job. And there's other people who are just paid to find you. So I cannot stress how important YouTube has been for my personal growth, especially like making the community really feel concrete and real to me.
I love that. I've found that the collecting community as well, since I've been a part of that, some of the collectors that I talked with regularly on Instagram, and, everyone who's been on the show so far have all been very accommodating, and just, it's like open arms. Like everyone wants to share in their love and passions with other like-minded people. And that's so great that you've found your community to do that as well.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's like show and tell in kindergarten, but it never ended. That was my favorite activity in school, if you can't tell. But it's true. I mean, it's a tightly knit community in terms of Sailor Moon, Batman. My husband collects One Piece.
I was about to ask
Don't get me
actually if your
started.
husband's a collector as well.
Oh, I would have never married him if not. Well, let me go back. He was not a collector when I met him, but he did like anime.
That helps. That helps.
It does, it does. And you have to also know, like, where do I get these toys? That's kind of the issue, right? Like, you don't know if you don't have a local comic shop and Amazon's kind of okay, I don't know if this is the real item or not. Like, most people don't have the right resources. And they just have to find them. Like Mandarake. Oh my God, Mandarake has changed my life. I don't know if you use it,
I
but
don't know
that's the
what that is.
store.
What,
Oh gosh.
sorry.
Okay. It's spelled Mandarake, and they sell used anime toys. They
Okay.
also ship internationally, and that's the store that's in Nakano Broadway.
Oh, nice, nice. Well, tying it
Yeah.
all back, perfect. Well, this is great. I love that someone can learn something. Hopefully, there's an anime person listening to it who may learn something and find something that they want via. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it actually, like sorry, because I think I'll butcher it. Say the name again.
Mandarake.
Mandarake. I'm actually starting to learn Japanese in my spare time because I want to go back to Japan. I loved it so much. Have you been learning a lot of Japanese? Is that something you've done as well, watching a lot of anime?
Yeah, I used to watch anime really passively, just reading the subtitles, absorbing the story. But over time, it's become, a little hobby. Like, let me hear keywords, words that I associate with like a certain translation. It's not a science, but I find I know things now. I know things I didn't know before, and it's so cool. Japanese is a crazy language.
Mm,
So many different, the honorifics and how to be polite.
mhm,
That
mhm,
stuff you really, as a Westerner, we certainly don't have that.
mhm.
It's a challenge, but I just think Japan is so cool.
It is. As I said, I'm learning language because I want to go back and just learning a few phrases before I traveled there before. Just the people there were so much more appreciative when I was actually trying to communicate with them. Even though they knew I probably couldn't say a lot more than one or two phrases, it at least sort of helped to bridge the gap a little bit and get them engaged in helping. And most of the people I encountered in Japan were super helpful as well, and super
what was
friendly.
your what was your most helpful phrase or word?
Oh, geez, I'm trying to remember now. I mean, sumimasen, like
Yeah.
just saying excuse me or I'm sorry, kind of. But like trying to get someone's attention. That was one of the things. I'm trying to remember what the actual a lot of. I can't remember the phrase, but my girlfriend, because we're huge foodies as well. We love food culture, and that's one of the things we did while we were there. Is we went to a lot of different places. There was only one phrase that she learned, and I don't even remember the phrase off the top of my head now either. But it essentially translates to "What do you recommend?" And when we were in the different places, like food places, she would ask, and if whatever they pointed to on the menu, we would try it, and we actually had some fantastic meals by doing that.
Oh, well, that's a good tip. I'm going to remember that for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to learn that too.
Do you find that helped you when you traveled, knowing some of those key phrases when you were traveling around as well?
Yeah, sumimasen for me was so helpful, but also daijobu, which means it's okay.
Yes, it's
Or
okay.
it
Yeah.
could also be a question. It could be a question or an answer.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So, I unfortunately, the moment I arrived and got out of the airport, I dropped all of my luggage, it just fell over. And all these Japanese women all at once, like shocked. They're so cute. And I remember I was like, daijobu, please don't look at me. Daijobu, daijobu. Oh God. Um, yeah, sumimasen though. That's number one.
Yeah. Well, Age, I've had a fantastic time talking to you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I mean, look, we've spoken about Sailor Moon. We've gone off on tangents. We've spoken about anime Japan, the show. Everything. I think this has been a really great conversation. I've really enjoyed talking to you. So before you go, as always, I get people to plug their Instagrams and socials, whatever. Obviously, you've got the YouTube page that we've been speaking about. So let people know, where can they find Sailor Tortilla?
Sure, you can find me on YouTube as Sailor Tortilla. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I try to cover all my bases. If I forgot one, let me know. But no, thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation. I would love to come back. Maybe when you watch Sailor Moon, we could talk about it. It'll be so cool. I'm like literally inviting myself.
I tell you what, because
Rude.
I sort of every episode I try and have a bit of a different guest, and I may eventually in seasons to come may do that. But if you're interested, I would love to watch a couple of episodes and come and even be on your YouTube and actually have an episode
Yes.
of like
Come on by.
a dumb Aussie man tries to watch Sailor Moon or something.
Yes. Well, I will put out the word and let's get something out there. For real.
Okay, awesome. We'll talk about it. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you so much. And thanks again. This has been awesome.
If you liked the episode, please consider following or subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also join me on Instagram at Collecting Heroes, where you can see photos of the collections of the people that I'm talking to, as well as some of my own.